Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another. Let me start again. Good morning. Welcome to another Cute for Teams, Champions Using Teams Effectively. I'm Ricardo. You got Stacy. We might get Nash as well. Here to geek out with you once again, answer any questions that maybe we know the answers to, or talk about any topics in general. So glad to see you here live this morning or on demand. And we can really jump right in. So as you all know, talk in the chat or come off mute and ask a question. But we are here for you. And speaking of chat, I'm going to try to put one of our little standard messages in there. Housekeeping. Should be good. So anybody with a burning question that came to this morning?
Well, hi.
I've got one, Ricardo, if nobody else does.
Okay. Go for it.
So this morning, the Message Center had an announcement saying that share to Teams, so share an Outlook email to Teams was available in GCC. There's been no roadmap announcement on it. Nothing in the roadmap about it, but it doesn't say it's rolling out. It says it's there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I have it, but others don't. Do you have any insight into that?
So I'm gonna check my tenant here to see what's up. That is a feature that's been out in commercial for quite a while. So it's good news to hear.
Yeah, we were thrilled.
I have a little insight to that because I've been following this for years. I have been so looking forward to an opportunity to provide this particular feature in the government cloud. I will say that there's been a lot of chatter unofficially internally that led me to think it was coming. But the chatter was around bringing it to all of the government clouds. So that would be GCC, GCC High, and DoD. And each of those clouds has different levels of audit performance that has to be validated and guaranteed. And I just saw recently that they were able to clear it through some of those requirements for GCC moderate, but not necessarily GCC high yet or DoD yet. So there's still work being done across the government cloud, but it looks like they were able to clear that hurdle for at least our GCC moderate group, which, as you know, is my focus. The vast majority of my customers that I serve here in Florida are in that GCC moderate category. And I know that this is one of those things that I've gotten questions on periodically. It seems like it comes around often. And so I'm really grateful to be in part of that potential delivery. I had not reviewed the MC post from today, but I am excited that it showed up, and I haven't tested yet today. Are you seeing it in yours, Ricardo?
So just to be clear, are we talking about Outlook to Teams or Teams to Outlook?
Outlook to Teams.
Okay, so that Teams to Outlook is there, but I am trying to update my client to see if that might help me see it.
Okay, and I will look and see in mine while you're doing that. One of us will get the Outlook client going first.
What I would say is if you could also try it on the web. It seems like it works better on the web.
Okay, good point. Let's do that and go here and here. Yeah, that does make more sense than me trying to update the desktop client. Let's see what we get.
I think I may have told you a week or so ago. The very strange thing is I've seen it on my instance for about a month now, but nobody else in our organization has.
Mm-hmm.
And see, it's not there because right where you just clicked on those three dots, that's where it is. Found where it says send to OneNote.
Right.
There's a send to Teams.
Okay.
Or share to Teams.
Interesting. And I wouldn't
Yeah, I
think
don't
that
see
would,
it in my Outlook client either, just as a check against it, Ricardo.
okay.
So,
And I wouldn't
Um,
think that would need some admin. You would think that'd be on by default, but
I think the notice does say that make sure it needs to be turned on, although
oh,
we weren't quite certain what that meant. The other thing I would say is what I'm seeing right now is you can only share to the general channel of a team. It allows you to share to any person, like to any chat, but it only, when you select a team, it only gives you a choice of general. So I'll just throw that out if there's things that you might want to look at and
yeah.
give us feedback on as we move along. But it's a great feature. I mean, everybody's waiting for it.
mhm.
So what I'll do here, by the way, I accidentally shook my window and made all of my screens minimized. Thank you, Windows. But what I'm going to do here is share my commercial tenant, and at least we can see in action in case anybody's wondering what are they talking about here.
Right.
Let's go
That would be
here.
great.
And let's go to Outlook here. So hopefully we're all familiar with, from Teams to Outlook. We just saw that button. So that's been there a while for GCC. But for this, if I go here, there's a little button. Can I make that bigger? Yeah, see the little Teams button there. And share to Teams. Now, I think this does give me more than just, does it give me general? So those are recent. But yeah, I'm trying to think of a name here. Let's just try. So there's people, and then there's chats that I can share it with, and then there's lots of different channels. So it's not making me commit to just a general. I could, type a little message to go along with it, and then this whole email. So let me remember this so I don't forget. Mark 8, research and development. I hit share. Your email's on its way to Teams. And actually, that little button actually took me right there, which is nice. And there's my post with the email and my little comment. If the email was longer, I believe it would have given me an abbreviated version and then attached the email to this post, an actual email message file. This one was short enough that it put the whole thing in there. And let me just go here to see it a little better. So yeah, a standard chat channel post with that email there. And of course, for GCC, this is even more relevant given the lack of the channel email addresses.
That email address. Yeah.
Right. So this would, I don't know if we call this a well, I guess you'd call it a workaround. Certainly not a hack, but I'd call it a workaround to the fact that in GCC, you don't get an email address for the channel like you do in commercial. So this could be one approach to that. Certainly there are some scenarios where that still have a limitation there, but this certainly helps. So at least, again, we're in commercial. You're at least seeing how the commercial version works. It sounds like already from what Tim's saying, there may be a little difference in the behavior in GCC, but this is the feature that we are talking about.
Yeah, and I pasted into the chat some documentation around what has to be available to make the add-ins for Outlook function correctly. And I'm tinkering in mine to make sure that mine is, because I also, like you said, didn't see it in there. So I may need to enable this to happen, and then I can hopefully confirm if that takes care of it and it shows up.
Yeah.
If I can just add one thing, Ricardo, to what you were saying. This morning when I was trying it, my recents, one different channel did show up, but I wasn't able to figure out how the recents got populated. Okay.
Oh,
and there didn't appear to, so anyway, maybe it's an educational thing. It also, again, just a little bit of feedback. It seems to work much better in the web version rather than the client. But just some initial feedback.
Yeah, because I do know, for instance, this Teams to Outlook feature, you can even tell just by looking at it, is, using the Outlook web. In fact, I sometimes will start it here and then go, and you'll see it in the drafts of your Outlook on the web. So so you're right. I can imagine Outlook for web working a little better there. So good stuff there. So yeah, so it sounds like if it's not there, coming soon, and maybe some admin functions needed in order to fully enable it. Awesome. Brandon, I see your hand as well.
Hey, bud, just a quick question. So we've had a lot of users asking or inquiring about a potential Q&A app for Teams meetings. It looks like you guys are showing all the love to meetings more than live events anymore, with all the features and everything common. Everything that I've looked up says that, yes, there is a Q&A app in the GCC for Teams meetings. However, it requires Yammer Enterprise. Any insight on that? Because I don't think Yammer Enterprise is going to be a thing for us.
Right. So are we talking about Q&A, like chat moderation in Teams?
Yeah, just like Q&A is in live events. That is a
Right.
piece that I'd love to have.
And so let me check here, because I think we just talked about that last week. I didn't think that was Yammer based. Let's go here and what is, did I find it? To see. So thinking you're talking about this so it does a Q&A application. Adding this application to any Teams webinar or meetings, users will be able to create either moderated or unmoderated Q&A experience. So yeah, this is in public preview. To your point, yeah, this brings that functionality that you had in live events over to the Teams meeting. But you're saying you saw somewhere this is based on Yammer?
Yeah, and it's mentioned there is a connected product in that roadmap that it's referencing Yammer and Teams. So there's some marrying up that's going on there. I actually pinged a CSM specialist from our team because he and I had some dialogue about that a while ago, and I know he's had some other things crop up in his priority list, but I'm curious if he's done some Power App things that perhaps could be an answer to that, even informally.
Yeah, because I haven't seen it in action, although I do have a tenant that I've enabled the preview feature. Also, this is public review, though. It's different from preview. I think, Stacy, wouldn't that come before public preview, the public review phase?
I'm not sure I know the answer to that as far as the which piece it's in.
So I think this may not even be available to my preview tenant. So yeah, that's a good point then. You're right.
Ricardo?
Yes.
Sorry, my name is Heather. I work with Tim. If it helps, I actually am able to see Q&A in my developer tenant that I set up. So
okay.
It is there if it's something you wanted to look at, just to help you guide where I've seen it.
Okay. Are you offering to share your screen, or?
I can if you like. I didn't know if that was appropriate during this time. I just wanted to let you know if you wanted to look at it afterwards where you could find it. But I have seen it in my developer tenant that I set up under my personal email address.
Okay. Yeah. We'll take a look offline, I guess. So appreciate that. Because that would be interesting, because I know a lot of customers are waiting for this. So it'd be nice to see exactly how that plays out. Okay. So I guess, Brandon, we didn't really answer your question.
I mean, you kind of did,
Yeah.
I mean, just that it's in limbo, and then, it is potentially on the roadmap. Obviously, it's not here, but, at least it gives us something to look forward to, hopefully. I just got a little spooked when it mentioned Yammer, because I know that's not going to be a thing for the state of Ohio.
Right.
So I have a little question, and I'm curious because I absolutely trust the audience's or the voices in this particular audience to gauge, whether we should push on this. But if there were a Power App template that mimicked a Q&A without Yammer, but rather used, some input fields and stuff through the Power App, would there be an appetite to use something like that? Because we do have meetings extensibility, technically, if you were to deploy a Power App that was designed to do something like Q&A, that could be available in your meetings.
Oh, absolutely. State of Ohio, without a doubt, we would use that with smiles on our faces. I mean, it's better than what we have, which is nothing. And it's chat gets a little bulky, when you've got a huge meeting. So I could tell you, absolutely, we would use it. Yep.
Okay. Well, I'm going to, like I said, I sent a message internally to a CSM specialist who I know has some amazing Power App skills. And I know it was something he was kicking around earlier this fiscal year. So I'll get on the pulse of that. And if there is something to share or potential for that, I'll connect with you guys in Ohio and see if we can't get that off the ground.
Outstanding. I appreciate that.
So this is what we mean by the messaging extensions there. So there's certainly lots of things already there, but I just did a quick search for Q&A, didn't see anything. So
and we to give you an example of something like that, for the largest local municipality in Florida had a need to do some unique accountability participation in some mandatory trainings. And we helped them build a Power App that would enable like checking in to a meeting and checking out from a meeting and having those date stamps. And of course, this predated our fancy attendance tab that we have now that does a lot of that stuff. Without that in the government cloud, we really leaned into Power Apps to do that. And it is such a cool experience in a meeting because it was available regardless of the way you joined. So let's say you joined via mobile, even that Power App was available once the organizer added it to the meeting. And, you capture whatever data via a SharePoint list. And the beauty of having that Q&A, potentially back and forth commentary in a SharePoint list that could then be exported and have all of that information in one place. I think there's such potential here. So I'm excited to continue the conversation. I can definitely see this being useful. And since I've seen the application of the Power App deployment into the meeting, I know that it's a powerful marriage of those tools.
That's awesome. Thanks, Stacy.
Yeah, sure.
Hey, Ricardo, I went ahead and pulled it up in my developer environment, if that helps. If not, I can just send you a screenshot later.
Yeah, if you could maybe, either throw a screenshot in the chat or something like that, that'd be great. That thing's still going there. As I'm sitting here looking at this, though, and again, I'm in my GCC tenant. I noticed the loop was there. Have we talked about that as launching in GCC?
Nope, that one's going to get a new shipped slide in my deck too.
Okay, so this one doesn't surprise you that you see it there?
It doesn't surprise me. Our audience, it's probably really, really new to them. And like I said, with the new slide in the deck that I reference all the time, hopefully we'll get some attention and just demonstrate how useful it can be.
All right.
It got pushed way out to November, didn't it, in the GCC, in the roadmap?
Loop pushed out to November?
Loop did. I thought it did. There was an entry that made it sound like it was there, and then it got pushed out.
Yeah, this is supposed to be a standard GCC tenant, so there's nothing, special or internal about what I'm looking at. So in theory, if I'm seeing it here, customers could be seeing it in their tenant as well. So it looks like
got it.
Okay, awesome. So we got confirmation it's in the wild, as we say. Just real quick, if anybody's not heard of Loop, call it a real-time interactive component where I could type stuff here, and in this case, I'm chatting with Nestor. Nestor could type as well. Real-time collaboration. Think, real-time co-authoring that you're doing in Office files, but in a small component within chat. The same component can exist other places like Outlook on the web, and again, still continue to be real time. In fact, I might even be able to get that little thing working as well. If I, copy link, come over to Outlook on the web, new message, Control V. Nope, that didn't work. Maybe I didn't copy. I don't see Loop here. So this is what happens when you try to do some demo on the fly with no prep. I'll try one more time, then I'll give up. Because I really don't think. Oh, you know what? I think I need to hit that. There we go. Content can't be shown. Yeah, something's up. I'll try this one more time, then I'll give up. Control V. And it's thinking about it, and it's there. I was actually expecting it, and the Outlook on the web in GCC maybe is an update. I was expecting to see the full experience here, but it's certainly giving me a link to it. And then I can go into the full. Yep. So I don't think it's fully baked, at least in my tenant. So we'll see. But it's cool to see that there's some version of it there. So interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm missing all the chat. There's a lot of chat going on here. Am I missing something? Okay, so I see Heather did a screenshot with the Q&A app there. So it looks like we got a lot of cool topics for future sessions here. So this is good stuff. And GCC admins enabling Yammer in their tenant. I see Amanda put that in the chat as well. Okay. So you heard it here first. All this good information. That's good stuff. We've got some good researchers in this group. Awesome.
Yeah, since Yammer would have to be enabled in our tenant, which won't happen, we would definitely be looking for a workaround for Q&A, because it just makes the webinar feature with the questions in the chat, it makes it unmanageable. Mm-hmm. And even in like smaller webinars, it's if you have multiple people, trying to manage the chat or manage the questions, it's just not possible.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been included in live events where we've answered 500 questions. There's no way to do that without a Q&A feature, webinar.
And the biggest, another thing too, being inability to moderate, right? Everybody sees everything today. Yeah. I know that's one of the main things some of my other customers have been looking for. I need a way I can't have everybody seeing everybody's little chats coming up throughout, 1,000 people in a meeting kind of thing.
Right. So we either need to have the registration piece in live events, or we need the Q&A to be moved to webinar.
Right.
Or just both.
Let's shoot for both, Amanda.
Right. That feature alone makes me want to push still to do live events, because it's just not possible. Like, I'm really sad that they have added this registration piece, and it's so cool, but yet I don't want to use it because of the Q&A feature not being available. So
I hear you.
Can I just throw out one other thing about Loop? The Loop roadmap entry references, it says GCC, but then if you read it up above, it references another roadmap entry for GCC, and it says November, general availability, November of 2022. Just wanted to clarify that for people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that particular feature has been called different things for the GCC. Like there were some initial updates to, I think, the MC posts that called it and referred to it as fluid. And now it's like it's been rebranded as Loop to match what is happening in commercial. And I think there could be some nuances in those messages, like Loop components in Teams chat for GCC. The fact that it calls out chat there, it makes me wonder if Loop being in posts and channels, might be what I can't recall, Ricardo, from the screens that you were showing because I was clicking through mine at the same time. Right. Did you see it or try it from a channel rather than a chat, or did you go straight to chat?
I didn't try it from a channel, and I don't see it in the channel.
Okay, so that theory is blown out of the water too. But I just know that there were some mixed messages because of the different terminology we used for the same thing. And I think that's why you saw references to prior MC posts that had probably already expired about fluid and not being able to reference those since they were expired, I'm sure was a point of confusion, at least had the potential to be.
That's a good call out, though. It is a little bit confusing there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the reference in the roadmap entry, it makes it seem like you're seeing GCC, and then it's the only time I've ever seen they put a reference for the number for the roadmap entry. You see that last thing there, the date can be tracked in that other one. And that's what confuses, because I often just search for GCC, right? And that one came up and you just kind of assume GCC, but you have to go to a different entry.
Yeah, it does not have a GCC tag.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then this one does maybe explains why it wasn't seeing what I expected to see when I tried to use it in Outlook, because we're still working on that one. Okay. That's still good stuff. And also, again, makes me think it could be worth a future session, even if we have to show its full functionality in the commercial tenant, just because, we at least see that it is on its way. In Ohio, Brandon and Amanda, is that kind of working the same way you saw it working here with me, not in channels and not in Outlook? Is that what you're
literally
seeing?
The first time I've ever noticed it was when you brought it up and I looked. So
okay.
I haven't really used it. So that's
Okay.
one of the things we've got to bounce for another meeting, but we will definitely play
Yeah.
with it this afternoon and see what's doing.
Cool.
Thanks, man.
Yep.
Stacy as well. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Any other 60-second type questions anybody got before we drop?
I can't, Jim, I don't know if you're still there. I did get your email yesterday, but I was out of the office, so I'll respond to you.
Okay, thank you. I think I may have been told the answer to that it's actually the object ID in Azure. So that is the common link.
Okay.
But if you had an additional insight to that, I'd love to hear it.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
Well, I hope this was helpful once again. I'll post this one on the YouTube channel, aka.ms. Well, you all know aka.ms/Q for Teams. That's how you got here. And yeah, so glad to see everybody and hope to see you next week. And have a good weekend.
Thanks, Ricardo.
Thanks, Ricardo.
All right.
Thanks, Stacy.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe and check out the blog for more content.